Who are the Unpraying Ones? Goblin Slayer Villains, Episode 2. Hello everyone, and welcome to another Goblin Slayer lore video. The Unpraying Ones. This group of Goblin Slayer villains have a very interesting name. A name which took me some time to dissect. The Unpraying Ones are first mentioned by Guild Girl in the 3rd chapter of the Goblin Slayer Manga and the 1st volume of the Goblin Slayer light novel. Guild Girl, quote, "All who stood among the age-old enemies of those who have words, the Unpraying." Guild Girl herself recognizes this is indeed a dubious term. You see, the Unpraying Ones include dragons, demons, giant eyes with their unhallowed names. These are mostly beasts and monsters, unable to speak and, of course, unable to pray. However, Unpraying Ones can also be cultists, bands of heartless outlaws, and of course, goblins. These are clearly intelligent beings and obviously have the ability to speak, pray, and, in the case of cultists, actually do pray. So, apart from a very confusing name, the Unpraying Ones include pretty much everything related to evil, making them a pretty general group. However, in the 2nd volume of the Goblin Slayer light novel, Sword Maiden clarifies the nature of this group. When discussing with Goblin Slayer's team about their upcoming quest under the Water City, she mentions, "Ever since the world's inception, law and order had been lesser lights." The key word here is lights. And then she continues, "No one had the power to change that, not even slightly. Even the Earth Mother, who offered salvation to those who were broken. Her salvation was only for those who wished, asked, and prayed for it. Hence why monsters are called the Unpraying. So, this is the link between dragons, demons, dark elves, and goblins. They have all rejected the light, rejected the gods and the very idea of law and order, becoming allies of darkness and chaos, mocking the lesser lights of law and order, considering them petty and pathetic. The Unpraying Ones lack moral compass. Or rather, their only compass is their personal ascension, regardless of the casualties or the destruction they may cause. That explains a lot about their behavior actually. First, it confirms my theory on my Magic Users video, where I categorize the Goblin Shamans as elementalists, since they do not seem to be connected to the divine. You can check that video by clicking the annotation card at the top right corner. And here's some more proof that the Unpraying Ones reject the idea of order, love chaos, and have no concept of morality. Remember how the one-eyed monstrosity guarding the mirror gate disintegrated everything that moved without necessarily taking the time to distinguish whether it was a friend or foe? And remember how many times we've seen goblins abuse other goblins, take advantage of them, and in general not care a bit whether their fellow goblins live or die? In many ways, the monsters of the Goblin Slayer universe and the enemies of order in general are chaos incarnate and simple paws of the gods of darkness. Oh, and don't forget, the Goblin Slayer universe is actually a game of Dungeons and Dragons between the gods, who are in fact the players. Who do you think controls the Unpraying Ones? The gods of darkness and chaos themselves, of course. Now, let's see. Out of all the types of Unpraying Ones, thus far we have seen goblins, demons in Brand New Day, Chapter 6, a single one-eyed abomination guarding the mirror under Watertown, one cultist in Chapter 29 of the manga, an ogre, and a dark elf in the 3rd volume of the visual novel. We have yet to see a dragon and a chaos god. Can an Unpraying One turn to the light and follow the forces of law and order? Generally, no. Only a handful of Dark Elves have ever achieved this. According to the third volume of the light novel, from time to time, a Dark Elf would return to the side of order. Now, that is presumably because they were not originally created by the Chaos Gods, like other monsters, but were normal elves, tainted or polluted by the darkness. So, as you can see, the Unpraying Ones are a pretty general group, and they're actually the main villains of the Goblin Slayer story. I'm sure we're gonna see more of them in the future, and I'm pretty sure we're eventually going to see a dragon and a Chaos God too. So, the world of Goblin Slayer is divided into two groups. The Praying Ones, the ones who pray, the ones who speak, the intelligent races, the ones who believe in law and order, the Elves, the Dwarfs, the Humans, the Ray, and the Unpraying Ones, the Agents of Chaos, the Pawns of Evil. Two groups different and destined to clash, under the control of the player gods. Hey, do you want to watch more Goblin Slayer videos? Then click right here to see more. Don't hesitate to ask me anything about the video in the comments section. Till next time, fellow Taco adventurers.